My name is Benoit Forest, and I have been exploring psilocybin and my relationship to psilocybin for many years. I'm now trained as a therapeutic counselor, so my interest is in combining what psilocybin can provide in terms of insight and experience and help people integrate that experience. So my first experience with psilocybin was a very unique one. I was traveling in Indonesia with many members of my family, and we were staying on an island where there was no motor-powered vehicles, so we had to get around bike or horse buggy, and we were invited to go pick the mushrooms out in its natural environment. So cow patties were everywhere in the field, and we were basically collecting them from these cow patties, and the mushrooms were just growing there. And we had a guide who was ensuring us that this was, a safe thing to do. I wasn't versed in psilocybin culture or practice or anything, so I wasn't really part of the preparation process. But basically we brought back all of these mushrooms to a pizza shop, and they made pizzas for us, and they cooked and baked the mushrooms onto the pizzas. And we basically ate mushroom pizza on the beach. It was amazing. It was magical. And I was with my family, so a lot of really beautiful connections were able to deepen. And so we were all on the beach, and it was the evening, but we had lots of time in the sun. And what was really beautiful as my first experience is it showed me how comfortable I was in nature. On the sand, I was standing on tree trunks, and I felt like I was an extension of the tree, and I was running through the waves and the water, and it just felt so wholesome and nurturing and nourishing. And to see my family members as well going on their own kind of little adventures, and for some it was a little more emotional, some of my older siblings, for example, it just really felt like I could see everyone in their natural element, which was kind of an eye-opener. So since then, I have definitely explored more. At first it was in party settings. I did it for fun, to really allow me to have a different perspective when I'm out hiking or I'm with friends or we're playing sports or things like that, usually outside. Then I started, many years later actually, so I used mushrooms more recreationally in that way for many years. And it's only about, 4 or 5 years ago that I started recognizing the potential for microdosing and what that can do for my health, and for ceremonial usage. So it's less about going to have a good time, and it's actually helped me to deepen my relationship with myself and what is occurring within me, in my psyche and in my body. So some of the really notable experiences that I've had are this series. I did 4 ceremonies with a couple that hold space, and they're really grounded in neutral presence, so they weren't trying to create an experience for us other than playing music and singing songs as we journeyed on our own rhythm, on our own pace, in our own time, and really focusing on our own experience instead of mingling with others in the room. So there were maybe about 15 or 12 of us average for these ceremonies. And what was striking to me is the visualization and the metaphors that were arising that represented the ways in which I wasn't honoring myself and I wasn't honoring the people around me in my relationships. And part of that reflection and seeing those parts of me was really hard and challenging, because those are the parts that I've been shaming or pushing down or really ignoring. So I attribute the insights that I've had and my growth to some of these experiences, because they've really shown me starkly not only what I'm repressing within myself or what my attitudes are towards life and other people and community and nature, of course. So it shows me those things, but it also helps me tap into my inner resources to face those challenges and make different choices moving forward so that I can live more in alignment. So in my day-to-day life, I commune with psilocybin in a variety of ways. So the main way is by microdosing. I have some friends that prepare capsules with varying dosages from 25 milligrams to 250 milligrams, and I can combine them to get the dosage that I feel is appropriate. And I feel very safe taking those in regular settings. Like, I can go to work. I work with people who I support in my workplace, and the microdoses don't affect my perception. So it doesn't change the way that I see the world, but it does change the way that I feel about myself. So I'll generally feel more present, more able to regulate if I get pangs of anxiety or confusion, or I'm not feeling comfortable in a space. I feel it easier to access my inner resources and grounding if I've taken a microdose. And if I'm working, I'll probably take 100 milligrams, maybe 150 at the most. And that feels like it sustains me through the day, but it will last. Again, because the experience itself isn't that different than my day-to-day. I'm not really sure when it begins and when it ends, but I do notice those moments if I'm feeling out of balance that it helps to ground me. So microdose is a really great part of my routine. Otherwise, I'll take some slightly larger doses, up to 1 gram. And those will be more for social settings. If I'm at a festival, and I'm still wanting to engage with other people in a somewhat cohesive manner, if I would still want to have conversations and meeting new people, I feel as though the 1 gram for me is like the max that I'd want to do, so that I can still feel comfortable getting to know someone and meeting strangers, which often can bring on some anxiety for me. So I find that the mushrooms helps to loosen things up, allows me to be myself and be a little bit more authentic, and still allows me to connect with others. And otherwise, I do still every once in a while go into ceremony, and that will be more of a heroic dose. So I'll take anywhere from 3 to 6 grams, depending on how I feel that day and what my intuition tells me to take. So that's usually a setting that we either do inside in a safe space that is being held by someone else who is kind of like not directing us through the experience, but holding the container of the experience, and so it feels safe. I've done it outside around a fire as well, which is always a really nice setting. And those experiences are very intentional. So in those higher dosages, I'm intending to get to know myself and to look more deeply into my psyche, into my beliefs, and into those aspects of my life that I feel are challenging or blocking me from really expressing myself authentically. And that's what provides me with insight, is my intention to look at those things and to work with them. Otherwise, I'll take maybe 3 grams at the most if I'm by myself, and I'll be probably in my room, and I'll find some really nice music. There's a playlist by Benoit Forest that I really like. That's kind of a journey with psilocybin, and that feels like a really beautiful way, again, to connect with myself, but it also allows me the freedom to go and walk around, explore a little bit, maybe do some biking, walk in nature, whereas the ceremonial space is more of a container where we stay. So there's all sorts of ways that I connect with it, and each brings their own magic and medicine. So if I had a friend come up to me and ask how they should use mushrooms for the first time, I would really ensure that they are in a safe place. First and foremost, is the person who's offering it to you someone you trust? Are you able to be in a space that you have access to food and water and shelter, those kinds of things? Kind of basic set and setting, really important to consider. I'd also suggest that they do their research about what kind of strain they want to connect with. I've tried many, and I don't necessarily have a favorite. My style is to kind of just trust that whatever comes my way is inviting me to explore. So each strain will emphasize different parts of the experience, and starting with a smaller dose might be a good way to go in exploring what the different strains have to offer. But doing your research is really good as well. There's lots of resources online. The other really important piece, I hear a lot of people say that they're a little bit afraid of something bad happening. And so the way that I see any challenging experience, especially with mushrooms, is that what is being shown to us through that experience is the next part for us to heal. So there's always an opportunity to engage with something that we may have ignored or repressed, and the mushrooms bring attention to that. And so my advice would be, if something challenging occurs, recognize it as an opportunity to heal something that you may not even know was a hindrance to you living your best life. You can find people who feel safe that can help support you as you're moving through it, but also trust that you have access to everything that you need. Your breath, touching into your body, and any kind of awareness of where you are now or in that moment is really helpful and grounding. So engage with the challenge as best as you can so that you hopefully can get beyond this block. So all that said, I really believe that psilocybin has an amazing potential to help us with all sorts of imbalances in our lives, and that's why I want to pair it with counseling and supportive therapies, because exploring our inner realms is really a mystery to each of us, and we all have a different experience doing that as well. So having allies on that journey is so important, and I can't express enough how much they have helped me to grow and to let go of judgments and expectations of myself and really toxic habits that I had of like the kinds of stuff that I ate or the way that I treated my consumption of information or the way that I spent my time in nature. And it's opened my eyes to recognizing the beauty in other people in ways that I wasn't able to see before. So it's just completely changed my life, my relationship with psilocybin. And I hope that it can do the same for you.